Hello everyone! In this short video I will introduce to you about a very useful tool for students in order to documenting, reflecting and sharing the information they acquire. The name of this tool is the Notebook of Experience. The Notebook of Experience is a tool that is useful during all the students' life at school, because it's something where they can put together all of the material they produce during their activity at school. For example, they can insert into the Notebook of Experience drawing, diagrams, photograph, tables using during the activity, graph, text, but also something practical they made related to their own activity. And it's nice that these documents accompany the students during all their school life. Thanks to the Notebook of Experience, the students can tell their experience in a scientific activity with their own languages. This is very useful to help the students to remember what they did, but also for their learning process. In this slide, we have an example about a format provided by the teacher to the students, and the students have to fill in and put this in their Notebook of Experience. It's very useful for the students because at the beginning of the activity, they have to provide their own proposal, and writing down their ideas and the hypothesis, it's useful to help the students to understand how to tell about their idea to the other people who they are working in a group, and so participated in the debate into the classroom. Moreover, this is very useful to help the students to learn how to write a relation, because in the first they have the format provided by the students, but at the end they do not need anymore this format. They know what they have to write for each part of their activity. Thanks to what they have in their own Notebook of Experience, the students can answer some questions about what we have learned about this experience, what we know about this type of experience, or what we have done about this, and what we have observed and which conclusion we can have from this activity. And looking at all the material they have in their own Notebook of Experience, they can have an idea about the progress in this type of activity, and moreover accept the mistakes and think about how to not repeat this same type of mistake. Learn how to talk about their proposal is useful because after this they have to share their idea with the whole of the group and arrive into the group and final idea, and this final idea is the base on what the students design the experience to make to validate their hypothesis. And also in this case, thanks to the notebooks of the experience, the students are facilitated in writing down the relation about the work, activity, and what happened in the experiment they design, and how to report the observation and data they have during their experiments. The Notebook of Experience is very useful for documenting and to help students to express their previous knowledge and also share this with the other people in the group they are working for, or in order to understand if there are some misconceptions in their previous knowledge. The teacher, looking at the notebook of experience of their students, they can learn something about how the students learn science. For example, it's very common that the students represent just what they can see. For example, a human body without stomach, because they cannot see a stomach, or a tree without roots. The notebook of experience is useful for the students to express their hypotheses, to design their experimentation, and to write down the data collection and the conclusion. For example, this is some drawings from notebook of experience of Italian students. You can see the drawing, and the question from this type of drawing is: what does a seed need to germinate? Or in the other case, about the stomach, the students after the drawing can ask which kind of movements helps the food to move into the esophagus. So the notebook of experience help the self-reflection of the students and help them to produce some question to investigate. Some practical indication to help the students to use the notebook of experience and also to help the teachers. First of all, it's important that in each page there is a date. In this way, the students can have an idea about how the activity is going on. In addition, it's useful to use yellow page to report the personal activity of the students. And, for example, blue page to report the work group, and white page about the material that the teacher provides to the students. In this way, the students can have a very clear idea about what they did by themselves, what they did in group, and which is the material from which the activity is started. Going back to previous page, the students can underline that they make some progress and so accept their mistakes. Here we have an example. For example, about the digestive system, we have two different drawings by the same students, and the first one is not so detailed as the second one. Thanks to writing down their idea, the students can reflect on what they have done, and this is very useful to structure their thoughts, and will be also useful to help students to think about new questions that before the experiment and before their reflection are not in their mind. So, to make some conclusion, the notebook of experience will be very useful for the reflecting phase of the students, because they can use their own words to writing down the experimental part, and so they can reflect about this. In addition, represent the memory of this work. So the students have always with them all the activity they have made and all the part in which the activity is divided. Moreover, all the notebooks in the class are different, so different students can make different reflection, and this is very useful for the next phase, for the sharing. And finally, coming back to older page, the students can correct their mistakes. The notebook of experience is very useful also in the sharing phase, because thanks to the reflection the students have made during the write down or their idea, hypothesis and knowledge, they can share this idea that will be different from each student with all the groups, and this helps to enrich the knowledge that each student in the group can earn from this activity. As every tool, also the notebook of experience has some strength and some weakness. Let's begin from the weakness. To make the notebook of experience, the students require methods and order, and this is not very common in each student, but will help the students to acquire this skill. Moreover, it takes time and it takes perseverance, and also these are not skills that students have always. But talking about the strengthness, it's very useful in learning languages, because writing down, as I say, is very useful to help the students to reflect in which way they use the language, and helps, of course, in learning science, because they work as a scientist. And at last but not the least, the notebook of experience is very useful to help students to feeling part of their learning process, so they can be active in their learning process, which is a very good point to help students to learn a topics, but also to love these topics. I hope that very short presentation will be useful, and thank you for your attention.